move on to supersegmental features of English. What do you think in this second half of the class ELT 214, March 18th, 2021?
Maybe we could move on with suprasegmental features.
Okay. Any other opinion? Daniela would like to go on to supersegmental.
I agree.
Okay, all right. And anyone that it's disagreeing with this? No. Okay. Okay, so let's consider supersegmental features of English. When we talked about segmental features of spoken English, right? We explored elements that went beyond isolated sounds, right? We stopped describing and we focused on prosodic features, right? That's another, by the way, that's another name for this features, prosodic or supersegmental features. When we talked about connected speech, we mentioned some phenomena, right, that took place. Whenever we spoke quickly, fast, or at a natural pace, sounds were linked one to each other, one another. Some sounds disappeared, right? Some sounds were created when two interacted and a new one was created. Sometimes the sound influencing another sound was a backward influence, and sometimes the sound was influencing the next sound, right? So let's start, I would say, brainstorming the names of those features of connected speech that we talked about last semester. So we can tap them somewhere.
In this case, teacher, we are talking about like elision and I don't know. I'm just trying to think about some.
Yeah, and I'm going to be following you, right? You said elision.
Mm.
Okay.
And for example, is there what is it? It's like intonation. Intonation. I don't know if I'm mistaken, but I don't know if that's about intonation, elision, and that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right.
Maybe.
Hector, just a second, Jolie, because Hector was going to ask.
Teacher, I was thinking about progressive and regressive assimilation, or
Okay, Cristobal, progressive and
regressive, and was another one, but I don't remember the name.
all right. Progressive, regressive assimilation, and another one, maybe another of your classmates.
Intrusion, I think that was one.
Yeah.
Coalescence, intrusion, all right. What else do you remember being elements of a connected speech? Features of connected speech. Come again?
Rhythm.
Rhythm, all right. How do you spell rhythm? Because I always forget how to spell the word.
RHHYTHM.
Perfect, thanks so much. Wonderful, good job. It's a crazy word, rhythm, to spell it.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I had to design a spelling contest, I would include that word. I would definitely put the word there just to mess up the participants. Okay, any other feature of connected speech?
The linking and intrusive R.
Mm.
And Elizabeth, linking and intrusive R. Are
Good
they the
one.
same? Yeah, very good one. So linking R, intrusive R, are they the same? Are they not the same? Are they different somehow?
No, they are different.
Okay.
Because in some words we like adding the R where the R is not there, but we add it to the word, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And in some words we have the R, so we just have to link it with the other word. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe someone has another opinion, but it's what I think about it.
I would I would back you up, Jolly, with this one. I think you're right. You're right? Intrusion is not there. But remember, so this intrusiveness, this intrusion, this characteristic feature of some elements that somehow pop up and they are sort of inserted by the speaker in order to sort of link, for example, two vowel sounds, and they pop insert just out of nowhere, out of the blue. And remember we talked about linking wu and linking ye.
Yeah, I
I
remember
always
that.
thought, yeah, I always thought, what do they call these linking wu and linking ye if the wu and ye both are not there? They are just intruding. They are just, popping up just to link. I mean, functioning the same as are. I mean, I leave it there for you to think and ponder. Why should we linking woo and linking yeah? So let's focus on the first one, if you're okay with that. We can maybe refer to a definition. Maybe we can refer to an example. That was a very bad call. Green and blue in the back, not good decision. What do you think about elision? Uh, how do we define elision? Can you give an example?
Like elision, for example, is when we have a word like have this word has like several consonant sound that we don't pronounce. Like for example, in the word empty,
Okay.
like we have several sound that in this word empty. Yeah.
Empty.
Like
All right, empty.
For example, p, p, we do not pronounce like this word, this consonant sound p. We only say empty. And maybe I don't know. It just I'm just guessing. I think it is like that.
And I really love when students try to guess because they dare to go in unknown waters, right? They dare to go and just step and see and try. So I love that characteristic, Jolly. So keep that characteristic in yourself, all right?
Another
So
example, and
yes, sir.
I guess it was when we have too many syllables. I remember one example from last year, and it was library. We can
Okay.
also pronounce it as library, like
Library. Yeah, you're good. Library. So in that case, library, we would get rid of and schwa probably. Library,
Yeah.
brewery. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Alrighty. Alrighty. Very good. Now, some people make a difference between eliding a sound, eliding a phoneme, which means make a phoneme or a speech sound disappear, as in the case of empty, right? Which may have some historical reasons, or sometimes it's just a common usage for a community, right? Like for example, let's say, I don't know, in the Californian English dialect, they tend to elide this particular sound. So that's sort of a feature taking place in a community. Or sometimes it's an individual component in someone's idiolect. Idiolect is the individual way that one person speaks. So one person like sort of just elides a particular consonant sound. So this elision may happen in one subject, in one person, in one individual, in his or her idiolect, right? The word idiolect is it's written like this, idiolect, which is sort of your own personal way of speaking, your own idiolect, right? It may take place in regional dialect, for example, in one area of, for example, Britain, one area of New Zealand, in one area of, for example, in certain areas here in rural, in countryside, in Chile, I've heard and I think I mentioned this a lot of times. Sorry about to bore you with this. The so sur becomes sure, ire, voy a ir al sure. So they add this additional vowel sound, right? But it's not something you find in the whole country. It only takes place in certain areas, rural areas particularly, right? And some elisions takes place because they have a historical reason, because the language evolved, right, from Old English to Old English in before the medieval times, right, and then Middle English in the medieval times to modern English or early modern English. So there were some changes to the language, and sometimes these changes involved losing some phonemes, losing some sounds, right, in a language, particularly in the case of English. So in the case of MT, there's the loss of one phoneme, right? It's not empty, okay? And some people also refer to compression as another feature of connected speech when you compress a whole syllable. For example, in the case of library is like a whole syllable compressed because there's the loss of a vowel sound, which is the nucleus, as you quite remember well, I think. A vowel sound is the nucleus of a syllable, and an additional consonant sound as an onset. So we're talking about a whole syllable there. So some people refer to the lesion of a syllable as a compression. So compression is basically the same as elision, but with reference to a syllable, all right? But so far we can talk about elision or compression when we refer to library, but some authors make that difference, okay? They make the difference between elision and compression. Idiolect, so each individual way of speaking. I have an idiolect, you have an idiolect, etc. Connected speech, features of connected speech. I think we can move on to maybe progressive and regressive assimilation, the one that I think Cristobal mentioned. So do you have an example? That's a general question. Do you all? Does anyone have an example or a definition of progressive and regressive?
I get confused in regressive and progressive right now. I don't know why, but I think maybe it's progressive or regressive is when one sound affects the other sound in a word. But it's something that I can't explain. But maybe if you give me like I don't know some I don't know how to say what. Maybe you can give me if you give me some pista. That's what I'm looking for, but I can't find it. And
yeah, I can give you a clue. I can
Yeah.
give you a clue, but I would prefer that someone in the room, maybe if you know the answer, maybe you can contribute also to the conversation. Does anyone have a clue about the difference between progressive and regressive?
The regressive assimilation is when a sound influences the other, right? Like, I have an example here.
Yes, please.
A good man.
Mm.
The last sound of the word good influence the sound in the next word. A good man.
Good man. All right.
Affecting to right?
The progressive, I can remember very well, but it's affecting the next sound, I mean the next word, but not, I don't know how to explain it to make it clear.
This is a great example. Good man. We're talking about assimilation here, right? Exactly, right? And we're talking about assimilation because one sound is influencing the other one and is sharing one of its features or characteristics, right? It could be manner, it could be voicing, or place of articulation. So, what's going on here? What do you think?
It changes the sound. There is like a change in when you say the words like faster together, there's like a change in the sound. It doesn't sound like good and man. It sounds like more together.
Yeah, I think
good man.
I got an idea. I think, like, for example, instead of saying the last the, we just replace the last the with the sound. This is an idea. I just got it because Daniela was explaining that, but I don't know if it's correct, and I don't know if you understood what I was trying to say.
Yes, I did. I did. Now, what about the rest of you? Would you like to join the analysis, the conversation? I have the phonemic transcription of good man, good man. But when it sounds like that, like the way it is transcribed here, when you say it very slow and very carefully pronounced, right? Good man. But when you say it at a normal pace, good man, something happens right in the border here, in between the final sound of good and the initial sound of man. Do we all agree on that? Do we have a common ground there? Yes?
Totally agree.
Okay, something happens, right? Good man, good man. So you say good, and then you have to say man. Man starts with which is a voiced bilabial nasal sound. Yes, voiced bilabial nasal sound. And we have d, which is also voiced, which is stop or plosive, d, yes. And it's a alveolar sound, right? Voiced, alveolar, and plosive. Good man, good man, good man, good man. So the tongue is getting ready to produce the next sound. You say good, but the tongue is already moving to produce good man, good man, good man, good man, good man, good man, good man. So sometimes what happens here is that instead of saying good man, the final sound in good may become the.
Yeah,
Good
this
man.
is yeah.
Good.
Now I remember it.
All right.
Yes.
Some people, just some people, not everyone, because some people speaks really articulated, very clear, and they say good man, good. And you can even hear the very plosive d, d. But some people just say good man, good man, good man. What feature from in men is influencing the previous one? B, sorry, d. In which way is the?
The place of articulation?
The place of okay. So instead of saying an alveolar sound, it becomes
Labiolento. No.
Bilabial.
Bilabial, exactly. Bilabial. Good job. Bilabial. Because is bilabial, so this sound becomes labialized. That's what some authors would say. Labialized. It's a labialized consonant sound. So it became bilabial because of the influence of in this case. So how do we call it? Do we call it progressive assimilation or regressive assimilation? What are your thoughts about this?
I think it's regressive.
Regressive, I think, yeah.
Yay! I also agree with you. But I'm totally fine if someone disagrees. If you have an explanation and an argument, we can discuss it. But I think it goes backwards, right? It goes that way. I'm trying to place an arrow because it goes from right to left, going backwards, right? That way. Okay, good, 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 good. Do you have another example of a progressive assimilation or a regressive assimilation that you would like to discuss? Or coalescence?
Another example, but there is nothing in my head. I tried to find an example.
All right.
The one, I guess it's regressive too, and good boy, like good boy.
Good boy. All right. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. So you said regressive assimilation.
Yes.
All righty. Regressive assimilation. Be careful when you teach how you shorten the words, because I remember I was writing very quickly and I wrote regressive like that, and then I realized that I had to write all the words so you don't get misinterpreted, right? So if you got that, good. If you didn't, I'll explain the joke later to you, right? Good boy. So what's going on with good boy regressive assimilation? In which way?
The last sound is affecting the first sound of the next word.
You are mute, teacher.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much. The last sound is affecting. The last sound would be oi. The last sound is affecting the.
Oh no, the last sound wasn't.
I'm being literal. I'm being literal. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm being literal. So the last
Yeah,
sound.
I think you mean b, right?
And good. I think that is what Cristobal meant. I'm not sure.
Let's go to Cristobal. Cristobal.
I thought that the first sound of boy, the, affects
Mm-hmm.
the previous one, the. So the becomes b, so it becomes labialized. Same as the previous example.
All right. All right. I think it's very, very clear now. The initial sound in boy affects the last sound in good. It becomes labialized because a d, which is alveolar, becomes bilabial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So more like that. Good boy. Good boy. Good, good boy. Yes, exactly. In fast-paced speech, or some people speak really fast, so they don't call it fast paced speech for them. It's just normal speech, right? Because they speak fast. That's quite common to say good boy, good boy. So you don't hear the d, the alveolar d at the end of the first word, but a b. Exactly. That's right. What about coalescence? Does anyone have an example? Do you remember what coalescence is or was last semester?
Teacher,
Yes, ma'am.
I think I have an example of progressive. I remember that we in the word, for example, dogs, say of dogs, we say dog, dogs. I don't know if I can explain myself.
Yes, you did. At least I understood. I understood very, very clearly. So dogs. Okay. So this is an example of progressive assimilation. I totally agree with you. And the reason is are we all clear with the reason why dogs is an example of progressive assimilation, or not really? Because this is a great example, and I may use it for you know, an evaluation. Great example. Thank you so much, Judith. Dogs. So I'm probably going to use this transcription, dogs. And the instruction is going to say, refer to the following words and explain which feature of connected speech is present and why, and explain it. So,
Teacher,
yes, ma'am.
is
Elizabeth?
it because we have the last two sounds are voiced or not?
Exactly. 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 Let's compare this to the example cats. Okay, so what's going on there? We have the same. Yes.
The last two songs are voiceless.
Mm-hmm. And the reason? If you remember Elizabeth's words, she said the last two sounds in dogs are voiced. And if we take that and we compare this to the last two sounds in cats.
Well,
Both sounds are voiceless.
Both are
And
voiceless. Mm-hmm. Daniela, go ahead.
no, I was thinking. I was
Thinking a
processing
lot.
the information.
All right. Exactly. In this case, in dogs and cats, we have the same plural marker, right? We have a plural marker, which is the letter S that sounds S, right? But sometimes it may sound Z. We may even sound an extra syllable that may sound is, like when we say horses, right? Horses, which may also be with a schwa, not necessarily with an e, right? Particularly in American English, right? Horses, horses, horses. I would say is more a plural marker you can find in British English and other varieties that are closer or close to British dialects. And a schwa is more present like in the general American version. Horses, horses, horses. Anyway, as Elizabeth mentioned, dog has a g, which is a voiced sound. Uh, cat, cat ends in t, which is voiceless. So if we pluralize these two nouns, we have dogs and cats, cats. So even though both of them are plural nouns, this plural marker, in terms of the sound, in terms of the phoneme, right, they are different. In the first case, it has to be voiced, and in the second case, it has to be voiceless, considering the influence of the previous sound. So as the influence goes from left to right, from left to right, right? We would say that this is an example of a progressive assimilation. So this is a very good example given by Judith, right, about an influence that goes from one sound and is influencing or impacting the following one. That's progressive. That's the idea of progressive, right? It goes from left to right. We write from left to right. In other societies, right, they write from right to left. So in our case, when we say progressive, progressive means for us from left to right, because in our in most Western societies, we write from left to right. I wonder how they refer to these features in Eastern societies or Asian societies, Arabic countries. I wonder about that. I'm going to find out later. So that's a very good example, Judith. Very good explanation and answer, Elizabeth, and also very good thinking aloud, Daniela. Dogs and cats. Very good example for progressive assimilation. Shall we pick coalescence as our next feature of connected speech?
I want to try to explain it because I remember.
Great, go ahead, please. Be my guest.
That is when the last sound of the first word influence the first sound of the next word, but influence each other. I'm thinking about a good example. Hold on. Did you see it? In the word did, the D sound and the J sound influence each other.
All right, very well done. Very well done. Let me write it down here. Did you see it? See it. Did you see it? All right, perfect. So how can I show here the coalescence? What symbol or where is the coalescence?
And maybe in this case, teacher, we had to add like this affricate sound. Did you see it? Maybe.
Okay, the one that looks like this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you see it? Did you see it? All right. Did you? And maybe so it works. Maybe we might take you and replace it with a schwa. Did you? What do you think?
Yeah.
All
Perfect.
right. Alrighty. Did you see it? All right. So the last sound of did and the first sound of you combine and merge into a new one, as Daniela was explaining, right? A new one. And the new sound would be the combination of both, which it would be, as Jolie said, the affricate J. There are only two affricate sounds, right? J and ch. Exactly.
Yeah, quite similar. The only difference is one is voice, the other one is voiceless.
That's right. I'm glad you remembered that, right? I'm glad that you are remembering that. That's great. And also okay, so coalescence is a feature of connected speech in which one sound and another merge into a new one. So a new one is produced, one that did not exist, because J, if you look at the question, did you see it? It's not present there, right? It takes place by combining these two and appearing a new one. Now I said did J. How do we call this? Is this a feature of connected speech?
I remember something about reduction could be when the schwa is present.
Okay, a reduction. What about the rest of you guys in this virtual classroom? Do you agree with the concept of reduction here? When you say yeah instead of you say yeah, teacher, or someone else says yeah. Are you going? Yeah. Reduction?
I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Because we are deleting like the long U to replace it with the schwa. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So basically, is the replacement of vowel sounds, many vowel sounds, not just you, right, for a schwa. All right. This has to do with, if you remember, strong and weak forms. For example, you, the strong form would be you, right? Just like in the section that says coalescence, it's transcribed there, you. Now, a weak form would be yeah, right? Yeah. So, if you remember, we talked about strong and weak forms at some point. You, strong form, and yeah, the weak form. That happens with a lot of, for example, prepositions like to and to. I'm going to the party. I'm going to the party. I'm going to the party. So we use in general weak forms whenever we are using. Do you remember those words that are not as important as the content words?
Function words.
Excellent, great. I love the answer. Function words. Function words such as articles, prepositions, conjunctions, all of these words that they do really help to organize the speech. But if we don't use them, we still can communicate, right? Because content words are the ones with heavy shoulders, right? Content words are uh, promoting the communication. That is nouns, verbs, exactly, adjectives, and
Adverbs.
adverbs. All right, good job. And adverbs, exactly. So these four, these four parts of speech, these four categories, right, are the ones that are called as content words, right? Content words really matter when you're communicating, right? And yes, ma'am.
The content words was the one who has no weak form, or the I can't remember that, or it's not related. I think that it's related, but I can't remember.
It is. It is. Content words, I would say, only have a strong form. And the reason for that is because when you communicate and you want to express an idea, you basically communicate the idea by using nouns, because nouns describe people. I mean, you name, you refer to objects, you refer to people, you refer to animals, right? With specific labels, which are nouns. Now, you describe them using adjectives. So you say, oh, it's fast, it's tall, slow. You describe them. And then you also refer to actions, right? So you use verbs to communicate. And also you refer to manner, right? Manner in the way in which things are, like quickly or slowly, beautifully. So you use adverbs. So those are essential for communication. So we tend to use, I wouldn't say we have to use only strong forms for content words. I think it just happens because they are so important for communication. And function words are the ones that have, as you were saying, right? The two forms, strong and weak. In general, we tend to use weak forms for function words. Unless you want to emphasize an element in an utterance. I'm going to your house, not to Jane's. To your house. Or
nothing mine.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to your house, not to hers. So that is the idea. It just happens that we tend to focus more attention on content words. Therefore, function words are optional if you use a strong or a weak form. But in general, I would say if there's nothing particular about the message, you would tend to use a weak form for a function word. A very good comment because one thing is to say it, and the other thing is to apply it. I don't know if I'm clear with that.
Because
all right.
It's I like, for example, where you want to put the emphasis, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Where you want to put the emphasis? Exactly.
No,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I just.
For example, you say, "How are you? How are you?" In general, stress the verb. How are you? Now, by replying, you say, "How are you?" I'm good, and how are you? So, in general, pronouns are not stressed unless, in a particular context, you want to emphasize a specific element in the utterance. Exactly. Just like you said, if you want to emphasize, you do it. But in general, you has a strong and a weak form, and depending on the context, you use or decide which one to use, right? Depending on the emphasis, as you were saying, Jolie. Reduction that wasn't in the list and just appeared. Intrusion. Elizabeth mentioned linking R, intrusive R, and then I added the wu and ya. So more or less we were referring to that. Now, what about rhythm? Before we finish this session, we're going to end with rhythm. Okay. What do you know about rhythm? What's a particular thing that you remember? What do you think when you think about rhythm? Do you think like something like that, or what comes to your mind when you think about rhythm? Is it connected with music?
It has to. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so somehow it's when you divide what you're saying to make it like I don't know, like more clear. But in a long sentence, you have to stop what you're saying. And I remember last year you make a rhythm too, like 101, 102. But I don't remember how it was your example, but something like that.
Oh, you're right, Cristobal. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. Okay. I don't remember why I was using that example. Does anyone remember? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not that forgetful. I just want to double check with you guys.
I remember that the rhythm is related with stress.
All right, Judith. Sentence, sorry, rhythm is connected with stress, all right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Stress is present in English, right? In spoken English, stress is present. in words. So we have word stress. For example, suspect is, the person who we think committed a crime. Suspect is the action of suspecting about someone, right? So suspect, well, we stress the first syllable and we have the noun, right? And by stressing the second syllable, we have a verb. So word stress is quite important. We have a sentence stress as well, right? Which is also connected with intonation, right? Intonation is also, which is right here. I'm going to put it below rhythm, because they are quite connected with each other. All right. So I went to the supermarket to find some apples. I went to the supermarket to buy some apples. Let's see if this can help or not. I went to the supermarket. I went to the supermarket to buy some apples. I went to the supermarket to buy some apples. If you remember Cristobal's example, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. 101, 102, 103, 104. There's a specific rhythm in English. I'm talking about a general overview of the English language. It's not like you have to talk like da, di, da, di, da, di, da. But in general, there's a specific rhythm in most of the utterances when you use English. I went to the supermarket to buy some apples. Because if you say, I went to the supermarket to buy some apples, it sounds a little bit weird, doesn't it? Or not really to you. I went to. So rhythm is connected with stress, and stress appears in, if you agree with me, in content words. I went to the supermarket. So I would stress the first part, supermarket, to buy. I would stress the verb here. And I wouldn't stress some. I would stress apples, the noun. And not the whole noun, but I would stress the initial syllable of the word apples. So the fact that I'm stressing always content words, in this case the verb went, right, the initial element in supermarket, this second this is a noun composed by super and market, right? I'm stressing the verb and I'm stressing the noun here. So this fact gives a specific rhythm. When soup by a. When soup by a. I went to the supermarket to buy some apples. I went to the supermarket to buy some apples. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but there's a specific rhythm in which we choose to stress specific elements in this utterance. Not any, but only content words. Yes, is it too crazy? Do you follow me? Do you disagree? Maybe. That's totally respectable.
Teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
The rhythm and the intonation is like related to the 3 T's that we reviewed last semester, the tone, the tonicity, or no?
Yes, tone, tonality, and tonicity are related with intonation, and we need to think about this as I don't know. I don't know a good example, but they are interconnected. They are interlinked because one affects the other one, and they all impact the final result of the utterance. So imagine if you have been to the circus, or you have watched an act of someone in a performance of someone in the circus, someone who is walking along a rope, right, like hanging, with he has something in his hands, right, like a rope, very long, and he's climbing a rope, right? He's trying to balance his body, right? One thing is his body trying to keep the balance. The other one is the long rope, the long pole, right? The long pole stick, right? In the artist's hands. That's the other element. The other one important element is the rope on which he or she is walking, right? The other element is the balance. The other element might be the right shoes. All of these elements combined produce the final performance or act. The artist in the circus balancing his body for the pleasure of the audience, right? But there's a combination of elements. So when you clap, when the artist finishes the show, you are thinking about the act, the performance, but it's actually a combination of elements that produced the success of that performance. When you think about someone speaking in English or any language, it's a combination of elements. It's a combination of segmental elements, that is, all the individual sounds that are put together. How these sounds interact with each other, influence each other. Some sounds disappear, some sounds are combined to produce new ones, as in coalescence, for instance, right? Now, if it's a yes or no question, you're going to use a rising intonation, right? Are you going to come? Are you going to come? Yes or no? And then yes, a rising intonation, no, a falling intonation, because you're offering two options, right? And then, are you going to come? And you make a pause. I don't know, maybe you want to give some time to the listener to react. Are you going to come? Pause. So if you remember, we divided the utterances when we talked about tonality or tonicity. Do you remember? Was it tonality or tonicity when we chant the utterances, when we divide them according to the pauses?
I think that is tonality when we mark the
pauses, right?
Yeah,
the bunches.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So are you going to come? That we use these vertical bars, right? When we were describing this process, yes or no? And that's another utterance, right? So yes, and then are you going to come? Are you going to come? I would stress come. Are you going to come? So if you remember, when we were working with tonicity, we were also finding the element that was the most prominent one in an utterance. Come, in this case, yes or no. Even yes or no may be divided, yes or no. If you make a pause, we have another utterance. So yes, all of them are combined, and all of them have to do in order to have an utterance. When we have an utterance, there are segmental elements, suprasegmental or prosodic, right? Prosodic elements that are produced at the same time. Okay, so and that reminds me that before we finish, this is the last thing I have to say. I'm sorry to keep you. Next class, we are going to have a formative quiz at the very beginning. I'm going to give a list of utterances, very short utterances, For example, are you going to come? Just like that. Okay. I'm going to give a list of utterances, and then I'm going to say, Roberta, from these 10 utterances, which one would you like to work with? I don't know. Roberta says, for example, 3. And then if Javiera de la Fuente chooses 3, and then Daniela chooses 3, they're going to be one group, and they're going to work with that one. Okay, you go to the breakout room. We're going to have sessions, smaller sessions. You analyze that, and then we come back. You explain what you got. Okay, that's sort of a formative quiz, so we can combine all of the conversations that we had last last session, in this session. Okay.
So
Questions, comments?
In
Chris,
that
what?
exercise, you suppose that we have to apply all of the features of connected speech that we have seen so far.
Exactly.
Got
Exactly.
it. Thank you.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. Good. You actually summarized what took me like a long time to say. You said it in in a very brief sentence. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so don't listen to me. Listen to Cristobal. That's the way to go. Thank you guys for joining the session. I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend. All right.
Thank you,
Goodbye,
teacher.
teacher. See you.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Hector, you said you had a
Bye.
question. Bye. Hector,
But
you can stay. You can stay. Or whoever wants to stay. Hector, go ahead, please.
okay, so these things of the features of the connected speech was of the last semester, right? Or not?
Yes,
Or this
exactly.
Okay. So these things, if I search in the LMS of the last year or in the contents of the last year, these things are gonna stay, right?
I think so. I don't know if you still have access to the courses that you
Yes,
took.
we have access to the courses.
Great. I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. So yes, and also if you think that that there's something else that you would like to know, I have found more material, updated material, and I may, if you have access, I'm assuming they also have access, so I can put it in that course as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that well, the question is because I can't remember nothing about this class. Only
Okay.
the features of the like the written, intonation, linking, and reduction. All the
Okay. All right.
of elision, progressive. I
Teacher,
can't remember where. Or
Right.
and additionally, how what in internet or contents can I search to study this?
To study this, you can also search for, well, intonation, as we mentioned, right? Tone, tonality, and tonicity. You can search for word stress. You can search for sentence stress, strong and weak forms, also
Teacher,
connected with rhythm. Yes, ma'am.
I have an PPT presentation from last year, and it has all of the concepts that we saw in classes. So if
So,
Hector wants, I can send you.
I am very grateful if you do it.
super duper. So
teacher,
you're
And
all,
teacher,
yes, ma'am.
another, I sent you an message through Teams, but I think that you haven't seen yet. Uh, if you could go and answer me that, please, when you have time.
Oh, sure. You send it like a private conversation?
Yes, through the chat.
teacher.
I,
I'm sorry.
okay. I just got it here.
Okay.
I got something to say as well, teacher. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
Diane, Yes, Julie, just to close Diane's comment, yes, I'm going to upload the presentation to the LMS today, because I think I'm going to keep these dates. You know, when you close the presentation, it shows you do you want to keep the dates or erase the dates. I'm going to keep these dates, and I'm going to upload it just like it is.
Okay, teacher, I will be waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm saving the presentation. Yeah, and I'm going to upload it.
Okay, bye, teacher.
All right. Goodbye, Diane.
Teacher,
Yes, sir.
just something to say.
Sure.
Yesterday, yesterday I went to the course, to the UCM course, and I was
Yes.
checking like the recorded classes, and I noticed that you put like the classes of the section 1 to section 2. I don't know if that only happened to me or it happened to another classmate, but maybe you can check it that out and take down the recorded classes of section 1 and put section 2. Or maybe I can show you that right now here. What's right here?
I think I understand. The classes for this section are in the other. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Like,
I'm sorry about.
You put like the recorded for section 1 and section 2.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
If you want,
sorry.
I can switch that in Spanish. Maybe it can be a little.
No, I understand. I have to I guess rename the files, rename the files, and then I upload them to the other section. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I no one told me before, so thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I think that what happens is that there were like many videos because I didn't upload them from the very first class. So they were like literature classes, phonetics classes for second year, phonetics classes for first year, and then I don't know, I maybe too many, and I got confused. Thank you for letting me know, Jolly, about this.
No worries.
Alrighty.
So, see you around. Have
Alrighty.
a great rest of the day. How do you say that? Have a nice day.
A good rest of the day. Yes.
Yeah. This is good. See you later. I'll see you.
All
I don't know,
right.
next week.
See you next week. All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Let's close this.